All right, today I'm going to talk to you about making an app in 2019. I'm going to keep it as brief as possible and telling you about my experience in making an iOS app and publishing it this year. Now, this app that I've made, it's already got a couple of paying subscribers. People are actually paying money for this application. So I'm going to talk you through planning it, prototyping it, business planning it, releasing it on the App Store, getting through the hurdles of the iOS App Store, marketing, all that kind of stuff that hopefully will help you out in your journey to make yourself a successful app. So overall, I gotta say, making an app in today's world is a lot more simple than it was back in the day. Even 10 years ago, oh my God, you had to do all these crazy stuff with certificates. Nowadays, Xcode just does everything for you. Swift, super easy to use, memory management, don't have to worry too much about that. Pointers, all that kind of stuff is alleviated away from you. And it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's all about reusing design patterns that work. People are familiar with scrolling lists, make a scrolling list. Back in the day when I first started app development, I was really into making engines. So I really always wanted to make my own worlds, make my own interfaces, my design patterns. I got in a mess and it was good for learning, but I call it code masturbation. You're just wasting time. You're just rewriting stuff that doesn't need to be rewritten. So this application, I'm going to start with the why. Why make an app? And most people that come up to me, they say, Ash, I want to make an app. I usually tell them, don't make an app. It is a huge investment. You don't understand. It takes up a lot of your time, takes a lot of your energy. You could be focusing that energy on building up an audience on social media if it's just a marketing play. You could be making a website, linking that to Google if it's just a marketing play. So if you're just after brand development, get on social media, start learning how to make videos, take some nice photos, get on that game of Instagram, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. That's marketing, because apps, people download them and they forget them if they don't provide a utility. For example, our hero, Kim Kardashian. What did she do? Did she make an app first? Did she make $1 billion game first? Or did she make a brand and then use that brand to leverage it onto making it a game? That's what she did. Do something like that. Now, if it isn't for marketing and if there is a need, for example, for me, I got a wife, she's a doctor, a cosmetic doctor. She does all these injections and she really struggles on editing before and after pictures. And the industry is a joke when it comes to before and after pictures. I've seen it on so many feeds, like the pictures are so off center, they're not aligned, they're slightly zoomed in, slightly zoomed out. As a patient, you look at the pictures and you think, what, did they just zoom in a little bit? What am I looking at? What is the difference? You're playing that guessing game. And I wanted to alleviate her problem. She'd spend hours and hours and hours just trying to edit the right pictures. She'd need to ask me to edit the pictures for her. And it was a big, big pain on my life, as well as her life. And it's a big, big pain for all of her friends, all of her colleagues, just spending the hours they spend after their jobs. And these are high earners. These are guys, they have their own clinics. These are professional outfits. And it's just a big, big burden on them. So I went out and said, you know what, with the power of artificial intelligence, with the power of, we got OpenCV, we got all these computer graphics algorithms, can we do that automatically? If I'm manually making these before and after pictures myself using apps like Final Cut Pro, using Photoshop, that kind of stuff, can I just get the system to automate it, detect where the eyes are, all that stuff? So I went in on that angle. And the first thing I did was I prototyped. I downloaded all the sample codes from WWDC's developer conferences, downloaded all the sample codes I can find, went through GitHub. Because I haven't published an iOS app in about a year or so, I just said, you know what, I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to make this Swift first. I'm going to just see what the state of the art is. I went back into auto layout. I hate auto layout. It's just stupid. Sorry, I'm a programmer. I like coding my layouts and just telling it what to do. I don't like fighting with frameworks. I hate that. It's a waste of time. But I was relearning the game, and this was back in November. I just prototyped the hell out of everything, getting a feel for everything. And to be honest, there is so much sample code out there. It's really easy to get up and running. What is difficult is mastering. For example, iOS, they give you a camera. You can take pictures from the camera, all that kind of good stuff. However, if you want to take pictures at the same level of detail that the iOS camera app gives you, you need to put in a lot of work. You don't get locations by default. You don't get the metadata by default. For example, the iOS app, when it takes a picture, it records the actual faces it detects in the pictures and gives you the locations where they are. You don't get that in the application. you don't get so many things inside. So if you want to make a play where you're expecting people to ditch the native iOS experience for your application's experience, you want to at least ensure that you get the same or better quality. You don't want to reduce, you don't want to lose locations, you don't want to do all that stuff. So you got to go through all the situations with permissions, you got to go through all the situations to make it sleek, playing around with the UI and all that stuff. And that did take me a good few months to get my head around. And to be honest with you, I spent too much time in the prototyping phase. I was just learning everything and I was surprised, wow, you get so much in this iOS gadget. It runs really fast, it's backwards compatible, you get all of this cool shiz, and I was over developing. I made a monolith prototype, all the different features. I was using the camera to automatically detect the face. I was using pictures to automatically detect the images. I was importing libraries and creating and all this unnecessary code, because I fully didn't understand who my customer was and what I should be addressing. So once I got to a stage where things were working and I saw potential, like I could detect the faces, I could kind of detect the orientation, I could figure out how I can get this done to make it fully automatic, because I'm like an inventor kind of guy, so I overdo things and I overthink solutions, and I come up with these crazy kind of like solutions which are unnecessary for the time. So I did two things. One, I said, you know what, I'm gonna do a patent to protect this idea, to give me a year's runway, so I can play around with this. If I get bored of it, the patent expires, don't need to worry about it. And if it matures and if it develops, then I can always spend money on a lawyer and get it done, international patent, all that kind of stuff. And patents, they can be filed, just the idea of it, and that locks you in for a 1-year term where you can further get it done and filed in internationally, in which case it'll cost you like 5,000 a pop, and it gets very expensive very quick. So I've got a video about how to file a provisional patent, and that is very cheap, it's less than $100, I believe, and that protects your idea for a year. So now, after I've filed that provisional patent, I said, you know what, let's submit this to some conferences and see if there is interest in the industry. I got a feeling that there was a need for this, but I wanted to ensure that it sounded technical and it sounded good. So we submitted, me and my wife, we submitted an abstract for a conference, and I was like, you know what, let's see what happens. If there is interest from the industry, I will build on this, and if there isn't, I'll leave it alone and just do it as a hobby to help my wife's life out easier. Unfortunately for me, the people at the conference, they loved the idea and they gave us a speaking slot at the conference, and this is a national conference for these cosmetic practitioners. And these guys, they're minted, you know, plastic surgery, all that kind of stuff. And these guys, they need applications to work for them, and they're willing to pay for it. If something makes their experience, if something can save 5 minutes of their time, that is valuable. So it's a really good market to play into. I obviously wasn't thinking too much about the money. I was just excited about the idea of someone using my application. But because I had to showcase this application in a couple of months' time, I said, you know, I got a prototype. Let's MVP this. An MVP is a popular term in the startup world, minimal viable product. And I pretty much wanted to have a release candidate, a version of the app I could submit to the App Store and have it approved and people to actually find utility from at the conference. So if there was interest, I could release it, or I could release it before the conference. I pretty much didn't know what I was doing, but I kind of had a deadline and had a target. So instead of building a monolith, I was now challenged to get a minimal viable product. So from that, I kind of went into business planning mode. What is the most difficult portion of creating these before and after pictures? Do I need to have the importing of all the libraries? Do I need to have the camera? Is that the most difficult part? And I decided that the hardest, most useful part of the application is purely the layout portion. I've used Instagram's layout app and it's horrendous. It's fun, but it's not accurate. You move the screen, it just moves out of place. You can't get the correct zoom. So I focused in on making the layout view as easy as possible, and I just started work on that. I didn't spend as much time as I could because I got other responsibilities in life, but let's just imagine I spent at least one day a week just working on it. And as the deadline got closer, I pretty much said, oh my God, I need to stop making some YouTube videos on my other channel. I need to double down and focus in on this. I need to stop wasting time. And I was just working towards it. But to be honest with you, having that deadline helped me focus, because it was more about what we're going to present. Creating the abstract for the presentation was easy because I had already written out the patent, and for the patent I kind of like knew where I was going to take this technology and the end target. So I kind of figured out that, okay, this is the story of the application. You can make layouts, you can use the camera to automatically snap pictures, and you can just run it through your library folders, for example, on your network drive, and it'll automatically create one of the pictures for you, ready to post on Instagram, all that kind of stuff to help market your drive. So to be honest with you, the presentation was done lastminute.com, kind of like 2 days or 1 day before the presentation, after I hacked together an MVP. But once we got the MVP, it was very clear as the flow of the application. It was all about making it as quick and simple as possible. So the gallery was just there. You select a picture, you hit the AI button, and it will just automatically zoom in, crop, and focus on the images. And it worked really great. We were just surprised that it works. It's always fantastical when an application does something to actually help out your life. Previously, I'd have to zoom in, crop, figure all that stuff myself, whereas this application was doing it for me. So I was very excited about the potential there. Locked that in, and I started saying, okay, how am I going to get this to the App Store? And luckily for me, in 2019, it is super simple to publish an app on the App Store. All you need is an iOS developer account. I already had one. The problem is actually, if you want to publish the application not on your own personal name, if you want to publish it as a business name, you need to have a company. You can't just have a trading name, you can't just have a business name, you need to have a registered limited company. So right now the application is published under my name, so it doesn't look too professional, but you know, that is life. You got to take the hits as it goes. One day we'll turn it out into an actual company if it starts generating some money, but for now I'm not worried about that. I just want to focus in on making it released. So I'm going to talk about the experience with submitting an application to the App Store, and you need to tackle it in a few ways. One is you need to create screenshots for the application for kind of like the main iOS devices, the iPhone X, the iPhone XS Max, the iPad, and the iPad Pro. Yeah, so all these different screen sizes, you have to make screenshots. So to sidestep that is, I took a screen recording of the iOS simulator, and then I use an application called Final Cut Pro, and I'll jump in and show you what I did to pretty much just crop it in on the images and resize the images to just make it fit into the right size. So it didn't actually look 100% like it would on the application, but it kind of made my life easier making the screenshots. And I also made videos from it, and I used my experience from making like YouTube videos on the side to do like a little trailer. I liked it. I thought it was fun, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. But the plan is you really need to spell it out for the reviewers, because the reviewers, they're pretty fast in responding to your reviews, and I'll go through the exact timeline. But for example, I got rejected for being too simple. They said this application is nonsense. We don't want it on our store. So it was kind of good, because if the reviewers are finding it as nonsense, you need to make the flow easier for the end user. So for me, the way I alleviated that is, before I had an introduction page in which I listed out the features that were coming soon and the main feature to use it. And what I did there is I just cut out that screen. I made it jump straight into the layout view, and then people could start using it from there. All right, so here's the timeline of my progress. Back in the day, this is November, me hacking away, trying to figure out the world, prototyping. And then I got some sort of face detection happening. This was the end of the year. Got a nice little view. Kind of like figuring out the UI, creating a website, hacking away, figuring out what is going on in the world. There you go, conference talk. My wife's going to be presenting over in Australia's premier educational event for non-surgical cosmetic practitioners. Made the website over here, and now this is me making the release trailer. Made that in Final Cut Pro. Really happy with myself, especially with my awesome clothes. I'll show you how I did that. Now we're saying we're not able to continue because we need a video that demonstrates the current version of the app on an actual physical iOS device. These are rejection themes. So I submitted a video. Here you go. It's working on an actual device. This is me. Boom shakalaka. Automatically detecting my face. Here's a video taken. We want to know a bit more about what is going on with the paid stuff. So I'm saying, hey, I'm using StoreKit, and this was the best rejection I got. We found the usefulness of your app is limited by the minimal amount of content or features it includes. So to get past that, what I did was just start the application in this view rather than the main menu view. This is the purpose of the application. I really spelled it out for them. told them exactly how to use it, explained them, didn't expect them to understand it off the spot. And boom shakalaka, they said, we're happy with you. So even though they just said your app is useless, as soon as I explained it to them, they were happy with it. And then started making videos for the conference talk, showing the different features of it running. And then after the conference talk, we got really good feedback, so I released it in the airport. On the way back from Sydney,
they won't let me submit an update to the app without releasing the app. I can cancel the release, but that means having them re-review the whole thing.
So I found a bug in the app, and I didn't want to go through the whole review process. And so I had to release the version 1 of the app and then submit an App Store update. Of course, I was using airport Wi-Fi, so it wasn't actually working. I just had to refresh the page, and then I re-released it.
Hey, just refresh and try again.
And that's it.
Ready for sale.
The app was ready for sale, and I was tired. There you go, it looks beautiful. There you go, straight on Apple. Obviously, it has my name on it. One day we'll make it a company name. It'll be good. Then we started to get rejected for subscriptions, fighting the rejections. This sale was me, and this was a real sale. Kind of 7 days after I released the subscription option. Thank you very much, people out there. Very kind. Yeah, more subscription issues. Won't talk about that here. So yeah, I got rejected for being too simple. I even got rejected after I pushed out an update to fix a bug. I fixed a bug and they just came out with a new issue. That's the iOS app review team. But to be honest with you, I'm not mad at them, because if they're struggling to understand your application, then the end user, your mum, your dad, your granny, the people who aren't tech literate like you guys, they're going to struggle. So having that review team in place is a lot nicer than the Android ecosystem, which you can just spit out as much garbage as possible. Yeah, as much garbage as possible. What I'm going to show you now is what I did with the different options on the App Store. So over here, you get a preview video for the application. So I use an app called Final Cut Pro, and I made the resolution of the video the screen size of the iPhone XS, and I recorded the screen over here, and I kind of overlaid some graphics showing what's going on. Over on the old school iPhones, I just cropped in on the view. I just zoomed in. So that's the original view that I took, and I just zoomed in, and obviously I lost some of the features. I lost the bottom bar, but Apple didn't care about that. And the same thing with the iPad. I just zoomed in tighter, reused the same video that I took with the iPhone, and I just zoomed in tighter to hide it. And Apple didn't reject me for that. I was worried that they would. Did the exact same thing with screenshots. So with the screenshot, I just took screenshots from the video that I made. And on the iPad, again, just cropped in and reused the screenshots. So that was nice that Apple didn't insist that I needed some sort of real version of the screenshot, and they were happy for me to just crop right in. Every single release, I make a little video just showcasing the feature. So for example, over here, I'm showing horizontal layouts. I just take a video recording and I show the feature in action. So over here, you tap on that button and it changes it to horizontal layouts. That's my methodology when it comes to using Final Cut Pro to make the iOS screenshots. So we pitched the idea at the conference. We had some amazing feedback. Even the guy who was hosting the conference, he said, well done. Like, do you need any partners? We had a lady saying, do you want investment? We was like, hey, we're just an R&D kind of team. And we had, it was a funny experience actually. There was some competitor applications, not in the same realm, but they do manage libraries for that for the industry, and they charge so much money. They charge like $100 a month as their basic subscription model. And we're just two little kids just playing in the world. And they seemed even interested in the application and all that kind of stuff. But it's all like salesmen speak and all that stuff. But it was funny because some of the people that attended our talk went ahead to them and said, hey, have you heard about these guys? Their application looks pretty cool. So that was very interesting. I'm glad I've got a patent locked in. So if anything does come down the road, I'm not too worried about it. Of course, litigation on patents, I'm not even going to get into that. But I'm going to go into the whole marketing side of things. So I submitted into a conference and I built a website just using WordPress. In the past, I'd write my own JavaScript and PHP and all that kind of stuff. This time around, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just get a template, hack it, and just have something for show. I'm really focusing on just trying to make it as simple as possible. Download right now, sign up for a mailing list. I got a mailing list with MailChimp, opened up an Instagram channel. That's very basic, we don't have many followers, but what the marketing side of it used, or what I use for the marketing side of things, is to keep the audience knowing what's going on. For example, every single time I submit an update or a release, I post a list of all the changes and little images or video of what's changed so people can know what's going on. And I blast out an email to all the subscribers who have shown interest. They can sign up on the website as part of the mailing list and let them know what's going on. And to be honest with you, I recommend that strategy because it kind of focuses you in on why you're spending this time developing the application. Because you need to just understand how to present what you're doing. You're not, because in the past when I was a little kid, I was just a hacker. And I wasn't really connecting with my audience. But with the whole mailing list and just writing out the release notes, just really trying to showcase what you've done, like really show what you've done. Kind of like when Apple do their presentation, they really show what you've done as a programmer. You're thinking, oh, that stuff's simple, but they really spell it out, what they expect and how they expect you to use it. So that has really helped me get my mental game into the kind of like the roadmap, what features to build and all that stuff. And so the results of that, so right now we got 5 paid monthly subscribers, and we got our first one a week after releasing the subscription update. And the subscription update is pathetic. I'm gonna build on it, I'm gonna make it better, but right now we've got a watermark on any picture made, and you pay money to have that watermark removed. That is it. You can go on Paint and just block it out and just put a white label and stick your logo on it. But these guys, they're paying money just to get that removed. So I really appreciate the support. I think for me, something that I've focused in on is I've really targeted privacy. I'm using no analytics. I'm not connecting to any online servers. I don't want to spy on my users. And I spell it out. I say, we don't spy on you. We don't use any analytics. We want to make this a pure, this is your data, your stuff. If you're dealing with patient confidential pictures, I don't want to be responsible for hosting that. I don't want to be responsible for it. So I'm saying we really value your privacy. Obviously, there's a lot of trust has to be accepted, but we don't connect to outside servers other than Apple. Apple is the only one, the server that we connect to. We don't use iCloud. We don't even upload pictures to there. We had ideas of doing that, but when we looked at the law, we saw that it wasn't recommended to even post patient photos on servers which aren't hosted in your native country. So if you're taking pictures in America, you want that data to be hosted in an American government. If you're taking pictures in Australia, you want that hosted in an Australian government server or an Australian server. So iCloud is kind of like all over the world. So using that isn't recommended for these kind of cosmetic practitioners. So I said, you know what? We're going to allow you to host it on your own solution. If you want to post it to iCloud, we'll build that feature out. If you want to post it to your private network share, we'll build that feature out. And that's in our roadmap. But we pretty much really like the idea of privacy because, to be honest, I use so many apps and I have my firewall turned on all the time and I hate it. All these apps connected to Akamai, all that kind of stuff, all these kind of like monitoring places, Google, I'm sick of it. So I'm privacy first. I went a bit on a rant there. And results, sorry, I went in there, I went crazy. So we said we were privacy first, and we had some emails asking for features. So to build out a different feature, I actually built that out and that was pretty good. And the best result I got actually, I got an email recently from an owner in America, and I say pretty much this is how the email started. I love your app. And it was like, you know what? I love it so much. I tried subscribing to it twice. I didn't just pay for one subscription, I tried paying for it on my other device subscription. Can you help me making it work on the other device subscription? And I kind of like helped her out. I said, just hit restore purchases and that will fix it for you. But she replied back, she says, I use it for work. It makes my life so much simpler. I'm telling it to all my workmates. And this is like a business owner, an actual legit dude. The building looks amazing, amazing business they're running, and then emailing little old us over in No Town, Australia. And that was a really nice email to get. So I don't know going forward where this application will go. All I know is it's helping out my wife's work. when she is in the clinic and she gives someone like a lip filler or a bit of stuff, she can literally just go on her iPad, tap a few buttons and show them the results immediately. There's none of that like zooming in, zooming out, playing around, fiddling with it. It really streamlines her cosmetic career. So that is a huge bonus for me. And the fact that we now have some users using the application, paying subscribers, emailing, it's starting to go. It's really motivated me to get going. So on the inverse of that, if you would have spent so much time building a monolith and then releasing that and finding out no one wants to use your application, you would have been so upset that you spent so much time and hours making all this work, spending so much money, and no one wants to use it.
But with lip filler, you can actually eliminate those lines because it just opens it out and spreads over that area. So for you, it has actually reduced them, which is great.
Something I also do now going forward is I always develop my features 2 weeks in advance. So I got a release strategy where every 2 weeks I will try to submit an update to Apple. Hopefully this will go through because I've got a lot of features to implement. And what I do is I always have a feature up my sleeve. So if for a period of 2 weeks I happen to be busy, I know that in 2 weeks' time I can release the feature I've already made in advance to the users with minimal changes. So I always make a couple of features and only release one of them, and then I have some spare time, risk-free, because I find that to get a following, it's all about keeping your app updated. Some people don't like updates. Me, I personally like making useful updates. So I've gone for that privacy first approach, where I'm not just updating my apps to monitor you and all that kind of stuff. I'm actually updating the app to add a useful feature. And every single time I add that useful feature, I use the opportunity for the mailing list and the post to tell the audience what has changed and why it's going to be beneficial. So I have a feature up my sleeve, and I only release one feature at a time to not confuse the audience. You don't want to give too much. It just makes people go crazy. It's more about following a journey. This is the start, the seed, and hopefully we're going to develop it up into something that is amazing. And that's how I feel about this application. It's been a fun experience. It's been a headache. It's been crazy. It's been tense. But I feel like we're on the right path. And we'll see what happens. There's just a little baby in the world, but it's been really fun. Honestly, it's been really fun just learning all that stuff, watching all the WWDC lectures, just getting into the app game. Of course, I'm not a millionaire. I'm just a little kid, hardly making any money. So just be aware of that. An app being made is a money pit until you figure out the business case. But it's a great learning experience. So let me know, what applications are you guys making out there in the world? I'd love to hear about your story. Please leave a comment. Yeah, I'd really love to connect more with these app developers out there. I know one of the hardest things I found as an app developer is going from a hacker, someone that just writes code, into someone that thinks a bit more methodical about features, about design, about all this kind of stuff. And that's taken years and experience to kind of like formulate that. But there's some kids that do some amazing things out there, and there's so many frameworks you can just copy paste nowadays. So let me know how your application is doing. Stay tuned, because I'll probably do a more in-depth guide about the whole subscriptions package side of it. I've been rejected several times. I've even had that my subscriptions approved and then rejected on the next update. So that's a fun experience. One thing to note, if you are testing out subscriptions yourself, once you purchase a subscription, you can't get a refund. Apple likes saying no. The only way to get a refund is if you say it's a bad app, and you don't want to say that to your own app. So just be aware of that. All right, hope you enjoyed the show. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Take care.